There aren't many things that conjure up a foreboding creepiness than the idea of discovering an eerily silent ship in the middle of the ocean, wondering what terrors might lie within. In the famous story of the rumoured ghost ship, the SS Ourang Medan, this horrifying scenario seems to have played out for the unlucky crew. Listen to the background of this story and decide for yourself if it's a simple ghost story or if there's some element of truth. According to the first appearance of the story in 1948, a year earlier, 2 American vessels were out at sea. They were in an area known as the Strait of Malacca, a narrow stretch of water between Malaysia and Singapore. While passing through, they picked up several highly disturbing distress messages. They identified them as originating from a nearby Dutch merchant ship named the Ourang Medan. Allegedly, a radio operator aboard the doomed ship sent the following message in Morse code. SOS from Ourang Medan. We float. All officers, including the captain, dead in the chart room and on the bridge. Probably whole of crew dead. Following this horrifying communication, there was a flurry of confused dots and dashes, amounting to gibberish. Soon afterwards, however, just 2 words came through very clearly. I die. This was the last communication that the SS Ourang Medan would ever make. One of the ships that picked up the terrifying message, known as the Silver Star, eventually located the doomed vessel. Upon inspecting the outer hull of the ship, there was bizarrely no sign of any damage or strange goings-on, although the ship was eerily still and devoid of life. No steam was being produced by her engines, and no shouts for help could be heard. The crew then boarded the Ourang Medan in an attempt to rescue anyone that was lucky enough to survive the cause of the SOS signal. Upon investigating deeper into the bowels of the ship, the search party allegedly made a terrifying discovery. They found the bodies of the crew, although their faces were horrifically contorted in fear. Their mouths were stretched agape in eternal screams, and their eyes were fixed open wide as if gazing upon something demonic. The ship's dog also met the same fate, meeting its end mid-snarl. Reports from the story went on to suggest that the search party's time on the vessel was short-lived, as shortly after boarding and making that terrible discovery, a fire broke out deep in the heart of the ship. This left the crew with no other option but to abandon their investigation and evacuate back to the Silver Star. With mere seconds to spare, the crew managed to make it back to their ship before the Ourang Medan violently exploded with such force that it was lifted out of the ocean. With that, it then proceeded to quietly sink to the depths below without a trace, taking any evidence of the terrible events with it. Before we look into the veracity of this story, there are several theories behind the tragic demise of the crew. Some hypothesize that the Ourang Medan was involved in the illegal smuggling of highly dangerous chemical substances such as potassium cyanide, a deadly poison, or nitroglycerin, an unstable explosive. As the events took place soon after the Second World War, there are even rumours that the vessel was transporting wartime stocks of nerve agents. According to these theories, seawater could have penetrated the ship's hold after a volatile storm. This then may have reacted violently with the cargo to release highly toxic gases, causing the crew to succumb to asphyxia or poisoning. The same seawater could then have reacted with the nitroglycerin on board to cause the later explosion and fire. A similar theory was that the ship was transporting nerve gas, which was being transferred from the Japanese military to the US following the end of the war. No American ship could have transported it so as not to leave a paper trail, as this would have been illegal. Another theory posits that an undetected or smouldering fire may have caused the terrible events. As the fire burned below deck, it would have released deadly carbon monoxide, which would have also caused the demise of all on board. As the fire got more out of control, it could have caused the later explosion. Others even raised the possibility of a pirate attack, but most accounts agree that the bodies of the crew were largely unwounded. Of course, there's the competing theory that a supernatural or otherworldly incident occurred. As always, this is impossible to verify, but it certainly feeds into the mysterious nature of the story. Variations on the story of the fate of the Ourang Medan circulated for years, and so, like other mysteries of the sea, it's unclear where the truth begins and where it ends. The first problem with the story is that there's no evidence that a ship named the Ourang Medan ever existed. Several individuals who have looked into this story have stated that they couldn't find any mention of the bizarre case in the Lloyd's shipping register, a record of all seagoing merchant ships of 100 gross tons or more. Additionally, there were no registration records for a ship of that name in many countries, including the alleged home country of the Netherlands. Ship's logs for the Silver Star also apparently didn't show a record of any such rescue attempt. The possibility was therefore put forward that accounts of, among others, the date, location, names of the ships involved, and circumstances of the accident might have been inaccurate or exaggerated, or that the story might be completely fictitious. However, it's also possible that if the ship in question was transporting illegal or unethical goods, it would be in their best interests to keep any official reporting to a minimum. Regardless, this raises serious concerns around any truth behind the story. Some stories reported the ship was near the Solomon Islands, while others placed it in the Marshall Islands. The earliest known mention of the sinking of the Ourang Medan was found by researcher Estelle Hargraves. She discovered quotes from British Marine officers in 1940, published in British national newspapers during World War II. These articles describe a distress call from the ship, requesting help from a medic and a warship. In this version, however, it's a British merchant ship, not an American one, that came to the rescue of the Ourang Medan and found only the dead crewman, with no dog in this version. The only consistency in this telling compared to later versions is that the ship did explode and nothing was recovered. While the mystery remains, the story of the SS Ourang Medan continues to stay in the public consciousness. Recently, a game called Man of Medan was developed by Supermassive Games, which used this famous story as a base. In this case, the main characters discover the doomed vessel when on a diving trip. The game received positive reviews. Although there is no concrete evidence of the ship existing, there are some aspects which introduce some elements of doubt. Primarily, the lack of public records of the ship can be explained away by the smugglers' wish to stay undetected, meaning that they would do their best to hide anything that could be used to trace back to the ship's cargo. Ultimately, it seems we'll never know what truly occurred. It's even unknown whether the story is completely true, has elements of truth contained within it, or is completely false. However, it is a disturbing and creepy story which captures the imagination, of that there is no question. If you ever find yourself out at sea and spot a ship out in the distance, you'd better hope that you don't meet the same fate.